Hiya guys, how are you today? And welcome to my review of the 2017 Azerbaijan Grand Prix. So yes, what a race that was. Best race of the season, arguably one of the best races ever. So let's get into this review. So I'm going to start this video by telling you the race results. So if you don't want to know the race results for some reason, obviously click off now. So Daniel Ricciardo in his Red Bull won the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. He was followed by Valtteri Bottas in the Mercedes, who just about beat Lance Stroll in the Williams. Yes, Lance Stroll came third. Sebastian Vettel came fourth, beating his title rival Lewis Hamilton fifth. Lots of controversy around there. Esteban Ocon came sixth. Kevin Magnussen seventh. Carlos Sainz eighth. Fernando Alonso ninth in the McLaren Honda. Pascal Wehrlein in the Sauber rounded off the points finishers. Marcus Ericsson in the Sauber was in P11. Vandoorne in the other McLaren was P12. And Romain Grosjean was the last of the finishers, coming home in P13. Pretty good. As for the guys who retired, there was Kimi Raikkonen, Sergio Parra, Felipe Massa, Nico Hülkenberg, Max Verstappen, Danny Kvyat and Jolyon Palmer. So now let's review the race for each of the drivers and you'll get an idea of the story of the race. So Daniel Ricciardo, great race for him. He started in P10 after crashing in the final qualifying session on Saturday, meaning he started in P10. He then made an early pit stop as a result of braking issues, which left him in P17. Bit of a disaster, of course. But then he managed to somehow, through all the safety cars, through all the crashes, made some good overtakes and he was able to make progress through the rest of the field. And he was able to win the race. Yes, okay, maybe he was lucky because of various incidents going on ahead of him. But in general, he kept out of trouble. Okay, he only had a mechanical issue with the brakes. And he won the race. And I think in Baku this year, all you have to do is keep out of trouble and you're guaranteed a good result. So Valtteri Bottas was second. He had a poor start to this race. In lap 1 he crashed into Kimi Raikkonen, which completely ruined Raikkonen's race. And Bottas then had a puncture and he ended up a lap down. But the safety car, the first safety car, which was caused by Kvyat breaking down and Verstappen breaking down, allowed Bottas to unlap himself and get back to the back of the field, and then he was able to make his way up the field. And he managed to come back to P2, but ultimately he does have the best car. So you would expect him to make big progress, but still a great race for him. Now, Lance Stroll, he is the man on the moment, for sure. Despite his poor reputation that he's had so far this season, he managed to keep out of trouble in Baku. He didn't crash. He looked confident. Obviously he's gained confidence from his points finish in Canada at his home race. And he managed to get on the podium here. He out-qualified his experienced teammate Felipe Massa on what must be one of the toughest circuits on the Canada. And yeah, Lance Stroll will be really pleased with himself. Of course now there will be lots of pressure on him to keep on performing in the next few races. But for Lance Stroll to get on the podium, it's amazing. He's actually younger than me. He's 6 months younger than me. So I was quite shocked to hear, that and how he's on the podium. It's pretty special. And, maybe he can have a strong future in Formula 1. Maybe tell me how you think Stroll will do in his future in Formula 1. But now we come to what is the biggest controversy of this Grand Prix, and what Twitter has been arguing about for the last 24 hours. Vettel against Hamilton. So yes, Vettel came 4th and Hamilton came 5th, but there's more to it than that. So Hamilton got away very well for this Grand Prix, from pole position after a superb qualifying lap. Right, it was very rushed because of the red flag caused by Ricciardo crashing in qualifying. But yeah, Hamilton's qualifying lap was superb. I think everyone has to agree with that. But now let's talk about the controversy. So after Hamilton got away well, there's eventually a safety car. Okay, Vettel was in second. Essentially, on the second safety car restart, Vettel seemed to run into the back of Hamilton. Some people say that Hamilton brake checked him, but the FIA have suggested that Hamilton went through the exit of turn 15 at the same speed on the second time as he did on the first time. suggesting that it was Vettel who did something differently. And after this, Vettel lost his temper and essentially sideswiped Hamilton, which is unacceptable behaviour. I think we have to all agree. And there was no real damage caused, to be honest. Vettel got a 10-second time penalty, which ultimately would have helped Hamilton. But Hamilton's headrest came loose after the red flag, nothing to do with Vettel. But essentially during the red flag, Hamilton got out of his car. Then when he got back in, it looked like a mechanic clearly didn't put on the headrest properly, which is obviously part of the whole safety feature in F1. And as a result, Hamilton had to make an extra pit stop to fix the headrest, which essentially meant Vettel's penalty didn't mean anything in terms of Hamilton. And Vettel was actually able to gain time on Hamilton and came out ahead. And Hamilton wasn't quite able to overtake Vettel. And ultimately, we can't really criticise Hamilton for what Vettel did. I don't think it was Hamilton's fault at all. Vettel also got 3 points on his racing licence, so he's quite close to a race ban now. But the thing I want to criticise Hamilton for is that he whined a lot about it during the race on team radio. You know, maybe it wasn't a strong enough penalty. He's probably got a point. Some people would have said that Vettel should have been disqualified from this race. Tell me in the comments if you think that's true. But there's no point whining about it. They were only going to disqualify Vettel just because Hamilton whined. And also he said that Bottas should slow down for the purpose of maybe helping Hamilton get up the field. But Bottas was having his own fight with Stroll and possibly Ricciardo. And Bottas shouldn't be considered quite yet a number 2 driver. Even Hamilton would want that. And ultimately Vettel never asked Raikkonen to slow down as far as we know. In Monaco, for example. So Hamilton was a little bit cheeky there. P6 was Esteban Ocon. In general he had a good weekend, but ultimately he crashed into his teammate, which is the one thing you don't want to do in Formula 1. After one of the safety car restarts, he dived up the inside of his teammate Sergio Parra, and they crashed, which ruined Perez's race. It also caused damage to Ocon's car, but he was able to climb up the field for him. And yeah, it looks like things are going to get a bit awkward at Force India these days, which is going to be a bit of a pain for them. I think Ocon and Perez are 2 of the best drivers at the moment, but you don't want them crashing into each other. It could cost them in the constructors, which is ultimately where the prize money is. And eventually heads are going to roll at Force India, and one of them might lose their seat next season. But then again, one of them might just get promoted to a better team. P7 was Kevin Magnussen. A good day for him anyway. He was running in the podium positions for quite a long time. He kept out of trouble, which, as I said, if you wanted a good result in Baku, that's what you had to do. And after the safety car restarts, he made some good overtakes at turn 1. So yeah, I think Magnussen had a pretty good weekend. But because of the Stroll and a few other results that I haven't talked about yet, no one's really talking about Magnussen at the moment, even though I think he did really well. Carlos Sainz, P8. Of course, we know there's lots of stuff going on at Toro Rosso between him and Kvyat. Lots of arguments at the moment. And Sainz spun lap 1, turn 1. He blamed his teammate who basically went off the track and came back on quite aggressively, but Kvyat never actually hit Sainz at all. So Sainz was silly to blame him really. But Sainz did well to recover. But again, it looks like the pressure of having such an important season is getting to him. And at this rate, he's going to struggle to get into the Red Bull or the Ferrari or the Mercedes. Now, Fernando Alonso. A shock result here. Baku with such a long straight should have been their weakest track for McLaren Honda with such a bad engine. And in fact, Eric Boulier said how he was dreading this weekend, but somehow, amazingly, Alonso got into the points and sort of joked on team radio that they could have won this race with everything going on. And the best thing about Alonso, it was nice to see him have a good battle with the Saubers and actually overtake the Saubers on the straight. And he also ended up racing quite close with Hamilton and Vettel. And Alonso is up there with Hamilton and Vettel in terms of quality of driving. And it was nice to see them racing together. Of course, Hamilton and Vettel in both in faster cars this season. And obviously they got through fairly quickly. But it was nice to see Alonso defend from them through the first sector after Hamilton and Vettel's issues, which caused them to make essentially an extra pit stop. Pascal Wehrlein, P10. Another good result for Sauber, probably overshadowed by everything else as well. Great weekend. He did have contact with his teammate though, Ericsson, towards the end of the race, but ultimately he got a point for a back marker team, and that's what he had to do, and he got into Q2 as well in qualifying. So it's a pretty good weekend for Pascal Wehrlein. He's had a tough start to the season, you know, with his injury at the start of the season and a couple of crashes like in Monaco, but he got points in Spain. He's got more here. That's what he has to do, and I'm pretty impressed with him at the moment. And maybe next season we'll see him in a better team. P11 was Marcus Ericsson in the second Sauber. Ultimately, he was outdone by his teammate this weekend. He was slower than him. He was out-qualified by Wehrlein. But P11 in the Sauber is a pretty good result. But yeah, as I said, he was outdone by his teammate. And maybe he needs to start also scoring the odd point for Sauber if he's going to save his F1 career. P12, Stoffel Vandoorne. Pretty amazing that McLaren actually had both cars getting to the end of the race. It was nice to see Vandoorne in a bit of a battle with some of the other guys on track, such as the two Saubers. That was good to see, but he was a lot slower than his teammate. So for example, Alonso's fastest lap was a 1 minute 45.1, while Vandoorne's fastest was a 1:46.6. Quite a big difference there. And maybe Vandoorne, you know, he's been a bit overhyped, and maybe he isn't as good as we thought, or maybe he hasn't got used to the car yet, and he'll have to improve a lot, I think, during the rest of the season. P13, final finisher of a Hills laps, Romain Grosjean. He complained a lot this weekend about brakes. It's sort of funny now, it's becoming a joke, but ultimately brakes is a serious issue. You have to feel comfortable on the brakes in a Formula 1 car. But ultimately he managed to finish the race, which in this Grand Prix in itself was quite an achievement. So, as for the guys who retired, let's talk about them. Kimi Raikkonen, he was hit by Bottas on lap 1. He did get quite a long way into the race, and then during the red flag they fixed his car. But ultimately there was no point continuing. He went out for a bit, but then he got a penalty because they fixed the car in the wrong place. And he retired because it was a lap down. There was no point in doing anything. He retired on lap 46. Sergio Parra, pretty similar, because after his crash with Ocon, his car was quite badly damaged, and he retired. But they managed to get him out again, I believe. But ultimately, he got a penalty as well, like Raikkonen, and there was no point in finishing the race. It was just a waste of time. Now, Felipe Massa, he had a decent weekend. He was actually out-qualified by Stroll, but Massa was in the running to win this race, quite seriously. We didn't know it at the time, because Hamilton and Vettel hadn't got any penalties or hairdress coming loose or whatever. But they did pretty well. And he could have certainly come on the podium, and possibly have won this race, but ultimately, his car broke down, mechanical issues, and that cost him this weekend on lap 25. Nico Hülkenberg. So yes, in the Renault also retired. Poor weekend for Renault overall, both cars retiring. And you know, Hülkenberg was running okay in the race, but he crashed after one of the safety cars. I think it was after the red flag even. On lap 24 he hit the wall in a weird place actually, and that cost him, but I don't know if he would have got points or not this weekend. Max Verstappen, again, someone else who could have won this race had he not retired. He had another engine issue. He's getting very unlucky this season. He has retired from so many races this year and has never been assaulted at all. Most of it mechanical issues. Retired on lap 12. It must be getting annoying for him because you know, his teammate won this race while Max Verstappen retired. And he must be feeling pretty sad about this, pretty angry. And he'll be hoping that he finishes all the races for the rest of the season. Danny Kvyat in the Toro Rosso retired in lap 9. He was the one who started the rolling pool of safety cars. He had a decent first part of the weekend, qualifying in 11th, but ultimately his car broke down in the race. Not really his fault, but he did have a poor start to the race, running wide at turn 1, which would have cost him to lose positions. Now, Jolyon Palmer, no, I'm not going to say he could have won this race because he wasn't going to win this race. He had a terrible weekend. crashed in practice. Then the car caught fire on Saturday morning practice. And then the car, which meant he had to start at the back of the grid. And then the car broke in the race. He hardly did any laps this whole weekend. The safety car nearly did as many laps as him. And yeah, he's going to have to do something soon if he's going to keep this Renault seat. But he claims he's confident about it. So, I've talked about the various drivers and everything. So let's just go through the standings. Vettel leads by 14 points at the moment from Hamilton, who's on 139 points in comparison to Vettel's 153. Of course, they're equal in race wins. Bottas is a bit further away in P3 with 111 points, while Ricciardo is catching up a bit on 92 points. Raikkonen is 5th with Verstappen 6th, he's still only on 45 points. Perez and Ocon are 7th and 8th. Sainz is P9, Massa is P10. Hulkenberg in 11th. Stroll in 12th after his good result here. Magnussen in P13. Grosjean P14. Wehrlein P15. Kvyat in 16th. And Alonso is the final one of the people who've got points in 17th. While of course Parma, Ericsson, Vandoorne, and also of course Giovinazzi and Button from early parts of the season have no points yet. Constructors wise, Mercedes have extended their lead in the Constructors' Championship to 24 points over Ferrari. Red Bull quite far back in 3rd place. Force India somehow managed to extend their lead slightly from 5th place. Williams are in 5th. Toro Rosso in 6th. Haas are in 7th. Renault in 8th. Sauber in 9th. And McLaren in P10. But the nice thing now is that every single team has had a points finish at some point this weekend, which is pretty impressive overall. And that would be pretty good. And yes, it was a pretty good race. So now a few questions. 1. What do you guys think of the Baku circuit, the Azerbaijan Grand Prix circuit? Because in 2016 it was a bit of a crap race. We all have to agree on that. But here it came up with the goods big time. Secondly, what do you think of the Vettel against Hamilton incident? Do you think maybe Hamilton should have got some sort of penalty? Or do you think Vettel maybe should have been given a tougher penalty, like a black flag or a race ban? And finally, how would you compare this race to other all-time great races? Can we compare this to Canada 2011? Or maybe Brazil 2012? Or another good race in the past? Tell me in the comments. And yeah, I'll see you guys soon for my preview of the 2017 Austrian Grand Prix. Thank you for watching my video. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like. If you really enjoyed this video and you want to see more videos like this and other types of videos, please subscribe to my channel. If you have anything to say in the comments, please leave a comment in the comment section down below. Also, go and check out the video that should be on screen right now, and come and follow me on Twitter, BigGaming342, and Facebook, BigGaming342, and I'll see you guys very, very soon. Goodbye.